Find Your Own Voice, lead from within. With me today, Carol Ann Cooper and Dr. Laura. Over to you, Dr. Laura. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Laura Cobb. I am a life coach, a mind shift expert, and a transformational coach as well. I'm also a licensed professional counselor, a nationally certified speaker, and author. I work with high achieving women who want their stories to be told, and I offer them opportunities to stand on platforms and to write in books so that they can do so.
Over to you, Carol Ann. Thank you, Dr. Laura.
Yes, thank you, Nonsa. So as the writing facilitator, what I do is I support women in becoming more productive with their writing by connecting them with their deeper innate ability to write. But more importantly, they experience free-flowing writing. They experience an unlocking of the writer within and getting their story written, getting their book written, because you cannot publish what isn't written. And all of this has come about through my own journey of unlocking the writer within.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Carol Ann. So our topic today is why hidden patterns of life are stopping you from sticking with your goals. And it's very, very important to set your goals for growth, obviously. And it is important having strong willpower. So you can achieve, having strong willpower, it can help us to achieve the things that we want to achieve and change our lives, basically. And Dr. Biget, how do you relate to this topic? I know you saw this topic and you were like, okay, I'm coming on today.
I think you mean Dr. Laura.
Dr. Laura, yes. What did I say?
You said Dr. Brigitte or Dr. Biget.
Did I?
You did.
I thought I said Dr. Laura.
It's all good. It's all comes out the same way. I think.
Have you changed your hair color of your hair?
Me?
Yeah.
That shall not. I can neither confirm nor deny.
It's normally lighter. It's normally lighter.
Thank you.
It's fine. You see, I notice things.
Yeah. I find this. I think, from my experience, at least, I think that there are things that we don't know, or that we don't know that we know, that can often impede our progress, and they can serve as blocks in our ability to progress and move forward towards our goals. And until we ultimately tap into what is holding us back, how we're self-sabotaging, how we're hijacking ourselves, until we get to that point, even just the curiosity of why does this keep happening, and how am I not continuing to thrive, that there's going to be a hindrance there. And even if we get to that certain place, it could be that goal, it could very well be unfulfilled or unfulfilling, that doesn't serve the need that we're craving to fill, that hole in the soul that wants to be filled up and ultimately live our best lives. And Mark Twain once wrote, I believe it was Mark Twain, said, the two most important days of my life is the day that I was born and the day that I realized why I was born. And until from my perspective and my experience, is that until we find out, it's not just our passion, it's our purpose, that what serves us, to the extent that it serves and propagates humanity. And I don't mean reproduction necessarily. I mean reproducing that goodness, that wholeness, that selflessness, the connection. That's why we're here. So that's what drew me to it. And having been in that place, that I know everything that I just said, I know what that feels like. And getting to a point where I don't know if I've realized the day I was born, or why I was born, is necessarily so important, except for the fact that it is for right now, and that's okay. And if another day comes along, and if and when another day comes along, and I'm more fulfilled as a result, and I'm more gratified, and I'm more satisfied, then I can certainly survive and thrive and push that forward, and mentor that, and can continue pushing that out to the world, or I should say nudging that out. Come on, man, just go, get out. And they don't do that. Don't tase me. That's not helpful. To at least be a role model, or at least to produce that as my way of being in the world. That's why it was important to me. Show up.
Show up, definitely. Stop hiding. And that's a message I really need to hear. It is about showing up, and yeah, I love what you said about recognizing things can change. So, you know, what your purpose is, your passion is, that you found something else can always show up at a later date. It could be an even deeper why. And it's allowing yourself to then let go of what you believe was your purpose and passion, and move with what's now showing up. And I think sometimes we're so fixed on holding on to what we believe, no, this is it, this has got to be it can't be something else, that we don't allow ourselves to go with those changes. And that creates tension within us, and again stops us moving forward. So I really love what you said there. Yes, it's recognize the change, move with the change, and know that it can just pop up on whatever day you happen to step onto. You know, I think there's a phrase that says change is the only constant. Yeah. So it's the only thing you can depend on. There's always going to be change. But there's a quote that I found this morning by Henry Ford, but I think it's absolutely beautiful and got me thinking. Obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off your goal. And I started thinking, oh gosh, yes, I've been really off my goal. I've taken my eyes off, and I've been in the obstacles. You know, what's stopping me? Why don't I want to do this? Where is my passion? Rather than focusing on my goal. So I where have you taken your eyes off your goal? It's something to recognize that it is important, as you said, Nomsa, to set goals. And because goals do motivate you. But there's also a possibility that you need to be aware of, that there may be a tension between a long-term goal and a short-term goal. And that reminded me of, many years ago, I had conflicting goals. I'd set a goal that I wanted to be in Australia for the Brain Gym International Conference this one particular year. I didn't have enough money to get there, and I didn't get there. But I'd also set a goal of writing a set of ebooks, of getting to know about how to put something out on the internet. And what showed up was at the exact time that Brain Gym International Conference was on in Australia, what happened was, in this country was a what do you call it? It was a course. It wasn't necessarily a course, but it was an event about internet marketing, which was so new to me, that the whole concept of internet marketing. And it was a really big event. And all of a sudden, I was in another world. And I actually went to that event, and I thought, wow, this is where I'm meant to be. Because I started learning about internet marketing. Where did my ebooks fit into this? You know, how could that be possible? And so a whole nother adventure took over. So do recognize where maybe goals have tension between them. They're in conflict. They don't work together. And so therefore I was able to let go of the fact that I didn't make it to Australia that time, to that Brain Gym International Conference, that something else was available at that time. It took me a while to actually acknowledge that and let go of it, because I was a bit, I wanted to get to Australia, you know. But I had a great time at that event. I learned a lot. I got to know a lot more people, and as I say, a whole another world opened up. So do recognize where those tensions may be between goals that you set, and that they can pull you in a different direction. One can stop the other from happening, because one of the goals actually is more important than the other one. And so the universe says, no, this is the one that's going to happen. You know? So do recognize that. And again, be willing to acknowledge it, be with it, and let go of whatever you wanted to have happen that didn't happen, and embrace actually what did happen and what goal did you start to work with. Yeah, so that's something to look to there. What do you think, Nomsa?
I like it when Dr. Laura says show up regardless of whatever is going on. Don't hide. Recognize that things can change. So yeah, that is beautiful. You have to show up, because sometimes people they set up goals and they're like, oh, it's not the right time at the moment for me to do this. It's never going to be the right time. If you set up your goals, just show up for your goals and just make sure that everything aligns with your values. And Carol Ann says also, basically, don't take your eyes off your goals, which is similar to what Dr. Laura was saying. Show up. Don't take your eyes off, because if you don't show up, that means your goals are not important. And I like, Carol Anna, when you say you had to evaluate your writing your ebooks and marketing stuff. But I just wish that you should have written your ebooks, because the ebooks, they do help. You can put them online and people can buy your information and sell them. That's what's his name? He teaches to actually do the marketing using ebooks. And what else? What else did Carol Ann says? Recognize your goals as well if they align together, because there's some other goals that can pull you out of. Yeah, if you I've watched what's her name? Shanda. Yeah, every time when she does her live, she always says to people, make sure that when you are setting up a business or you set something on the side for extra income, make sure that is whatever you're doing is not pulling you off your business, because if things are not aligned together, the other thing might, like what Carol Ann was saying, it might pull you off building your business and you get distracted. So make sure that basically everything is aligned together, and also look at the barriers. If you believe that there's something that is basically stopping you creating your goals and achieving the life that you want, evaluate the barriers. What are the barriers? What is stopping you? Carol Ann always talk about go back to your childhood. Is there anything from your childhood to your upbringing that is stopping you, like ancestral things that are stopping you? Sometimes it could be the beliefs. There's so many people that believe so many things, and those things are holding us back. So you have to make sure that there are no barriers, and if you find out that there are barriers, it is okay. It's not going to stop you moving forward. It's not going to stop you creating your goals. You just have to deal with those barriers, whatever is stopping you, or the habits that you created. Just make sure that you deal with them and don't ignore them, because they will stop you moving forward. But if they're dealt with, it's fine. That's part of the fun part of creating goals and achieving the life that you want. Over to you, Dr. Laura. How is your cup of tea?
That's what's coffee. It's 7:20 in the morning.
Oh wow!
I think yeah, I'm digging everything that's been said, and I think I mean, none of us are, we're all going to lose at this game of life. We're all going to die. Maybe that's the win, but everybody's going to win. So we're all winners. I mean, there's two things, there's a few things that I know for sure. We're going to die. We're born, we die. So we make of it that counts. That the only constant is change, which is oxymoronic, I think. And it's going to suck sometimes. You got to get through the suck. And it's going to be great sometimes. And know that you can, at least for me, I know that I've relied upon those moments where I know that it's been good and really savor it. Really savor that what's my joy? What's your joy? What brings you joy today? And sometimes it's this is so amazing. I do know that if we're still living, if we are in the game, there's like two ways you can approach it, moving towards your goal, your success. You can either fail or quit, because until you succeed, you're still failing, because you keep trying. You're gonna try something new. Oh, that didn't work. You failure. Well, we don't use that label. I'm still working on my business. What are you doing? Well, I'm working on implementing this. Did it work so far? No. You're a failure. You're failed. You're a failure. No, you're not a failure. We don't talk about that. When was Rocky a failure when he got knocked down every time? Did he succeed in that first movie when he didn't win, according to what society says he needs to win at? If I don't make $1 million, everyone talks about a millionaire. Am I a failure? I didn't quit. So I'd rather be a failure than a quitter, because this computer, the fact that this didn't work, but the fact that I'm in Chicago. Are you in England? Near London, maybe?
Yeah.
This didn't work the first time around. Were they a failure? I don't think so. I'm looking at success here. My son wasn't conceived the first time. It took a lot of work to get him. Am I a failure? You failed. I'd rather be a failure than a quitter. Look what I got. And moreover, is that considering the goal, when you reach that goal, when you ultimately succeed, now what? So what once was an amazing, the invention of sliced bread, the invention of bread, and then a knife that can cut it, and then a factory possibly now that's reproducing it at a certain rate. It's a certain, so what, you found a knife that could cut bread, now what? Make it faster. Well, that didn't work. Make it faster. Every single moment, we're still failing if we're still striving to succeed, because it's the striving to succeed that's the point. You succeeded, now what? If I'm not going to hang out with someone who achieved one thing one time and they're not growing, because if you're not growing, you're going. I don't want to have anything to do with that. I can't imagine living life stuck. I love the moments of, now I get it. Oh, that's why that is. Creating those aha moments. That's the juice. That's the point of just being. You're here for. I woke up again. Sun's barely out again. Those damn birds, stop chirping. That's what they do. I mean, you got up and listen to the birds. So it's all verbiage. It's thinking of this semantics. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. It's how we view it. It's all context. That's it. That's all I got.
I love it. Yeah, it is all context.
Mm-hmm.
And as you say, how you view it. Different people see things in different ways. And I love what Martin Luther King Jr. says. Our very survival depends on our ability to stay awake, to adjust to new ideas, to remain vigilant, and to face the challenge of change. And that's so true. You just stay awake, just keep going. And as you were saying, Dr. Laura, you can either fail or you quit. But actually, when you've quit, that's where you've failed. What you've failed to do before is that you've actually failed to achieve what you set out to do. And the more times you fail, as you say, it's another step towards succeeding. So constantly failing to achieve what you set out to achieve is okay. But it doesn't mean You are a failure. And that's what most people do. They collapse that together and go, oh, I'm a failure. No. All that's happened is you have failed to achieve what you set out to do. So do recognize where you've collapsed it, because that's what sets you back. It's you've then set in motion a belief because you've made a decision. I'm a failure. And therefore you'll continue to prove it, because you'll keep quitting, you'll keep giving up, because you're a failure, because you have that belief. And that then gets so ingrained and so entrenched that it's then hard to give up. So do recognize where you've collapsed it. And so I know, actually, the truth here is I haven't yet achieved what I set out to do. So what can I now do? What's the next step I could take that would take me a bit closer? Or that would be another thing I could just tick off and go, okay, that don't work. Okay, that doesn't work. You know, how many times can you tick off things? You know, how many things can you tick off that don't work? Because eventually you'll find the one that does work. And isn't that what, is it Edison with the light bulbs did? Yeah. How many times did he say, oh, that didn't work. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, that didn't work. Lots of times before he suddenly found, it works. Light bulb, it worked. You know, so it's what Nomsa was saying. There is a personal willpower. It's what willpower do you have to say, no, I am not going to quit. Dig deep. And that's what keeps me going most of the time. And I know even now there's still times where I'm going, oh, I don't know that I can carry on with this. I don't know if this is really what I'm meant to be doing. Do I want to do this? And I'm constantly questioning. But there's an inner drive. There's something there that keeps saying, no, take the next step. Take the next step. And so I do another little bit and then another little bit. And what I'm hearing today is I have to stop focusing on all the things I haven't yet done. But I keep putting on a list and going, I still haven't done it. I still haven't done it. But I've done this. And okay, it may have only been one tiny thing in one day and then nothing for a couple of days later. I'm where I'm at right now. And I have to acknowledge that's where I'm at. I've done all the things that I can do. And I just keep on going. So, yeah, just keep going and recognize what is it that would have you give up. Because actually, when you start giving up, that's when you're starting on that slippery slope out of here. You know, and I love what you said, Laura, we live, we die. And it's what you do in between that counts. And you are either growing or you're dying. So, which is it to be? You have a choice. You always have a choice. And I think it's also recognizing where maybe you start putting blame out there. Oh, well, it's not my fault. It's someone else's fault. They did this to me, or that happened. It was out of my control. Take back control. Like Dr. Laura is having her internet is out of control, but she comes back again. Take control. Do what you can to keep showing up.
Thank you, Carol, and thank you so much. And I basically love what Dr. Laura said, that sometimes life, there will be joy in your life, and sometimes life will suck. And you will see that you may be thinking that the only way to survive is quitting, and quitting is not an option anyway. Like what Dr. Laura was saying, basically, You can't quit just because life is not working how you want it to. Whatever you do in life, you can't just celebrate the results instead of celebrating your failures as well. You have to celebrate your failures because that's how you succeed. And all these people that have been mentioned by Carol Ann and Dr. Laura, there's people, they celebrated their failures and they've learned from their failures. And even though they've built the successful business and they were able to write about their failures to let us know that it's not just success that you have to celebrate. And also, uh, 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 Dr. Laura mentioned that basically what she was saying basically is life basically will hit you, and you have to be able to be someone that is able to climb the mountain, because if you are not strong enough, then you won't make it. Business, as a coach, business coach, whatever coach you are, you have to, like Carol Ann, she's a writing facilitator. She has to have a strong willpower to basically to carry that her business, and to be able to climb the mountains when mountains are presented in that business. And Dr. Biggett and myself as well, that's what we have to do. You don't just train to be a coach and say, I'm just gonna have these beautiful clients and I'm gonna have this amazing money, I'm gonna make the money. So you have to be prepared that when problems comes, you're gonna deal with them as a leader, and then you're gonna keep setting goals, because problems will always come. You'll get a client that will basically chaff you with problems, and sometimes things not going your way. So you have to basically address the problems and know that quitting is not an option. We're taking Dr. Laura and Carol Ann's advice that quitting is not an option. Have the ability to basically quit the blame. Carol Ann mentioned that you can't just blame people and say, I'm this because of this, my business is this because of this. Wherever you go, there's gonna be some people that are going to basically when we had the legacy wealth talk, uh, to really mention that she basically did a business dealing with someone and she lost this 60 something thousand pounds just like that, and she had to accept it. In order for her to go forward, she had to accept it, that that's what it is, and it didn't stop her. And there are so many people that when you listen to them, even like people who are successful, they tell you that they went through the same situation. Some people lost millions. I had a client last month, I think. Yeah, she registered and she said she was in a relationship and her ex was making films, film producer, and he lost millions and millions. And her reaction was, so the guy, poor guy, lost millions, and now the guy is lost, and he stopped talking to her for 3 months. And when he came back, he explained the problem, and her solution was to kick the guy out. So I said to her, listen, men don't know how to deal with problems. And that was mean. So I had to tell her that was mean. I said to her, losing millions sometimes, if it was a woman, it's easy. We can deal with the situation and we know how to deal with it. But a man, it gets a shock. I said to her, you go to a shock first, and then you go to a place where you get lost somewhere. Your mind gets lost, and then you find yourself again. And then because to him losing millions, I said to him, to her, it's a lot of money, and if you don't know how to handle the loss, basically things are just gonna be dark. So he wanted the light, but then when he got the light, when he came back, she was like, no, get out. She kicked him out, like, I do not want to talk to you anymore. So I was like, that is part of the business anyway. When you basically involve with people who have their businesses, basically there will be challenges in life. So I thought maybe where he made a mistake was where he didn't communicate with you. He should have just told you that I'm in a bad place at this moment. Maybe he would have explained. People loses millions and millions. So it doesn't mean that you have to stop setting goals. You have to keep creating goals. You have to. That's why it's important to have a coach. A coach is someone that holds your hands even when things are dark, and they basically make sure that they are holding your hands so you can go on. And you are allowed to grieve. That's why it's important to be surrounded. Your environment, your tribe is very, very important when challenges comes. If you are in the right tribe, it's going to help you to actually get out of whatever the dark place you are. So make sure that you are in the right place. You are in the we're surrounded with the right tribe, your environment, and also your identity, your mindset is in the right place. It aligns with where you want to go, because it's very, very important. If your mindset is not in the right place, you won't be able to fulfill your goals. And for me, basically, I'm surrounded by so many coaches, and when I have problems, I always ask you guys as an individual, this is the problem that I have, and everybody gives me different ideas. So I use those ideas to basically face my problems so I can actually continue. Because there is no such thing that are gonna be strong. Men have this thing where they basically invented that a man should be strong, a man shouldn't cry, a man should not confide in people, they should get on with it. I'm afraid you are a human being. If you're watching, you are a man, you are a human being. When problems do come, don't hide under the cupboard and say things will be okay. End up having depression or stress. Just talk to somebody. Talk to somebody. You don't have to say I got to be strong. So just talk to somebody. Over to you, Dr. Laura.
I'm thinking to myself, well, how do you feel about that? Obviously, there's some conviction there and I agree that there's so much there. The way that we're taught how to behave, it's not even overt teaching. It's assumed, and then it's just a way of life. And I wanted to touch back on something that Carol Ann was talking about. I forgot, and because I didn't write it down. So you get it. My goal is to start taking notes when something hits me. No, because it was what came to me was listening to hear. I mean, I obviously I know you as well, not just from this film or this live, that we all need help in regard to we can't do it alone. I mean, I can do it alone, meaning that I know to brush my teeth. I can do that. But I was taught to do that consistently on a daily basis because of what's ahead or what could be ahead. So the success that I have would be if I live without dental pain throughout my life, but I don't have that success today. My success today, I guess, is a micro goal of moving towards that overall goal. And you know what? I'll never achieve that if I die without my pain, until I pass without my teeth hurting. So am I going to wait for my deathbed to figure out, oh, my teeth don't hurt now? I did it my whole life. I worked for that teeth. My teeth stayed in my mouth. Did I get to wait for that? So enjoy the journey. Enjoy the process. Reap the benefits in the moment today, because that's all we have. As I said this earlier, it's not you only live once, you only die once. Live every day. And when you die, you succeeded. Isn't that the goal? I mean, we not think that's the goal, but who's to say what we know is what is real? I could go all woo-woo on you and esoteric. I'm not going to do that in this moment, because we could have a conversation for about 15 hours on the woo-woo. But the goal is Because the whole thing, did we succeed? Are we really still alive? Are we dead? Where does our soul go? I'm not going to go in that direction right now. But the thing about it is that hidden pattern of why bother? Why bother? Because I matter. And I heard this great quote the other day. It's the things in your life that you can count, who the things in your life that can be counted don't count, and the things that count cannot be counted. What if you can think past money or the number of friends, that essentially, it's like saying those who mind don't matter, and those who don't matter, they're the ones who are minded. Really evaluate your values and morals and ethics as we just continue. It's called a process of life. Lifespan. It's not life day. The trajectory of our lives. What path are we on in order to reach what? Sometimes it's in sight but out of reach. And so what is that reach? We're still reaching for that. And sometimes that reach can just be as simple as a hand, outstretched hand saying, please help me. So those struggles, those patterns of life, those habitual patterns of life that we get into because of what we're taught when we're young that we needed to have. I mean, when you come out of the chute, the first thing you got to do is cry. First of all, to get the oxygen in. Second, this is cold. I'm cold. Put me back in. I'm cold. I'm hungry. Where's my? You got to learn how to eat. I mean, it's a lot of work being a baby. You think about that. I got to learn how. Wait, I was in this enclosed womb thing, this fluid-filled sack that was all warm and nuzzly, and I'm all like crunched up, like like I was baby sleeping. And then I'm like, what? It's cold out here. Give me, and I'm hungry too, and I'm not getting what I want. When before it was all about me. Where are you? Why am I? And that's the struggle. We start with the struggle. Sleeping like a baby. What colic? Oh my gosh. That's life is part. And then knowing that there's this experience of ultimate joy and bliss when you see just peace and you know it. It's like a flock of birds. You know how they just shift. It's not a mindset. I'm in a mindset. I'm set my mind. I'm disciplined, but things are going to come up in our paths. So then we have to change directions. And when we, at least for me, this doesn't happen often. I could see it more often than I in the birds, but not often to me until hindsight. When for whatever reason they just intuitively know. There's no leader necessary. You don't see it anyway. It's just this like that shift that I'm talking about. So all of the birds in the sky. And then like it's like the air. You can see the air. They're like the air embodied, and we can live in that flow. That's grace for me. Is that flow of life? Like wow, there's no struggle, and it's going along with the momentum. Because if they get a gush of air, can't go that way. Maybe we gotta go this way, or let's just hit that air head straight on, and then you're gonna see the flock of birds go, separate. That doesn't happen. Why? Because they intuitively know, and they're working as a group. And we can do that when we get into that habitual pattern of life of, I gotta win. I'm number one, and you're the loser. It's not. Sometimes they're like, we are the champions. We are the champions, my friend. You are the losers. I mean, you don't hear that. So I suppose that's it. This is just so vague and so specifically on point. And there's so many examples that we can give from our own lives, I'm sure, that it's hard to talk about these grandiose general topics, but at the same time, it's so relevant. I don't know how you keep coming up with these amazing titles in your content. It's off the chain because it's so relevant in every single level. Every single level, someone can relate to this. I challenge me. Dr. Laura, I'm going to create this topic and this title for this room that no one's going to be able to relate to. That doesn't happen. Not with you, because you know. And that's the grace that I see. And we can have moments of grace, at least from my experience, and in certain portions of our life. That said, we can't necessarily compartmentalize our feelings and our emotions, because if we numb one, we numb them all. Or if we try to numb one. And if we can have that grace within, even if it's a little snippet of flow in our passion, then imagine what we could do if our life was our passion. Just to live life regardless of whatever happens. So that's all I got on that one.
I love that. Live life as if life is your passion.
Mm-hmm.
That's lovely. Yes. I'm just seeing a light flash. I don't think my phone is charging. It's absolutely boiling hot, but never mind. It's struggling, I think, bless it. But we'll continue. Yeah, it is just continuing in that flow. As you say, when you live in the flow of life, there is no struggle. So it's what can you do to get into that flow? Because there are things that happen that take us out. And how can we then get back in? And some of the things we don't actually know about. And I think you alluded to this earlier, Nora, where you said there's things you don't know. And it's actually being able to get to know them, open up to them, because that's where the beauty is. That's where you can then start getting into flow. And for me, there's things that actually happen that I've realized that you shut down to, that you forget. And this is where, by working with other people, these memories and traumas can be unlocked, and know that it's actually safe to do so, because you won't unlock them until it is time. But when they do unlock, know that actually you're in the right place and that they're meant to be unlocked. And I learned that when I unlocked the memory of the trauma of my birth, of being a forceps delivery. And I'd been doing some training in one of the courses to become an educational kinesiologist. And a friend of mine and I, we were practicing, because we got a bit confused with what we'd been taught. So we were practicing. And in one of the processes, I got to a point where literally I went into the fetal position. I was on the floor and I just went into the fetal position, sobbing, going, I don't want to be born. I don't want to be born. I don't want to be born. Just shaking like this. And because my friend was like, what's going on? Bless her. But she had the presence of mind to then hold these points here, which are emotional stress release points. And she held those until I then calmed down. We were able to complete the process. We decided to redo that particular process. And I got to the point where I was then saying, oh, I want to be born. I want to be born. It was like, there's an excitement, and the whole thing transformed. And I realized I needed to have a conversation with my mum. That actually what happened was just a few months later, just out of the blue, I have no idea what we were talking about. She said to me, oh, you were a forceps delivery. You didn't want to be born. And I went, oh, really, Mum? She had no idea. She couldn't remember why it needed forceps, but it suddenly started making sense of my experience and that unlocking of that memory. But that memory took me on another path of research of parts of the brain and what was that affected me in terms of language and with words and my struggle with words. So you just never know sorry, what's locked in there, what wants to be spoken about but sometimes can't be spoken about. And it reminds me of another incident that a memory that I unlocked in some other training, whereby I remembered being asked for some news. I was in the infant class. It was a Monday morning. We were being asked for news. And I was stood at the front of the class going, just looking at them, thinking, I hadn't got a clue. My mind was blank. And the teacher was just kept asking me, and in the end said, well, do you have a brother? And I went, yeah. Well, what's his name then? And I went, Peter. Would you have a sister? Yeah. Well, what's her name then? Susan. And I literally felt a stinging slap on my leg as she said, oh, so you do have some news then? Go and sit back down. And I remember thinking, I don't understand. What's news about that? And it wasn't until, a few years ago that I shared something with a friend, and he said to me, oh, thank you for sharing that bit of news. And it suddenly clicked. All it is something that someone else doesn't know. And I suddenly thought, wow, probably many of those children in that class didn't know I had a brother or a sister, let alone their names. So that would have been news to them. So I realized that sometimes what we know and isn't news to us because it's so familiar can be news to someone else. But that stopped me sharing on many levels, because it's like, well, I don't know what's news, what can I share, but also, am I going to get punished for sharing? Because it was like, what was the slap on the leg for, you know? So again, you just never know what's inside, what experiences you've had that have set up that tension, that block that actually is keeping you safe or attempting to keep you safe, and being able to free that up to say, okay, that's no longer valid anymore. You are safe. You've got past that. You've survived. You can now deal with it and move on and allow that inner child to grow up inside. And that's what I love and locking and working with, because then there's a level of peace inside that just deepens, and it happens every time. And I still keep going, gosh, how much more peaceful can I get? Every time. It really is quite magic. So yeah, sometimes it's worth reaching out for support when you're stuck, because there are things you just don't know. You don't know.
So true. And
before you go, Dr. Laura, do you want to say any words of encouragement? I know you're saying you have a meeting.
yeah,
Or do you have a comment with what Carol Ann has just said before you leave?
I can't agree with you more. The suit up, show up, step up, and speak up. I mean, we got to lean into it. I think this is a little masterclass here, little workshop going on throughout the day or something like that. I think that would be fabulous for this topic. And if you need any support getting that off the ground, just let me know. I'm happy to promote. I do need to take leave, ladies and gentlemen. I beg your pardon. I have another meeting I need to get through at 8:00. And thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak here and sharing your knowledge, sharing your wisdom.
Thank you so much.
Your experiences.
Thank
Ladies,
you so much, Dr. Bigot. We appreciate you, me and Carol Ann. Thank you.
Blessings. Bye all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, Carol Ann, I agree with what you were saying. It's very, very important to, like you were saying, you were practicing with your friends, and then with your friend, and then you realize that you had something that was inside that you had to deal with it. I actually agree with you. You know, when you were talking, like right now, I'm actually realizing that I'm not used to. I think what has been taking this house this long is because I'm not used to the struggles. I'm not used to struggle. I'm used to love. Like where I grew up, there was so much love, and I'm not used to struggling because I've never been like not having a home in my whole life. I was raised from a good family, so I think that's what is basically holding me moving forward with this house that is taking so long, because it's like, I think it's a shock for me, even though I don't feel it, but it's a shock for me. Why would it take this long? And not being used to it, and looking at my children, basically hoping that even though we do have a home, but we're not used to we used to doing whatever we want in our home, with the children doing whatever they want, and we do whatever we want. It's like my dad, when I grew up, I grew up with my dad and grew up with my mom on the other side. So I'll got love from my mom, got love from my dad. I was never used to struggle, and my grandparents loved me so much. So I'm not really used to all these struggles in life. So I think that's what is hindering me, that I need to deal with it, and I need to basically say that, like what you and Dr. Laura was saying, and what I was saying as well, that life will give you joy, life will give you pain. So I need to basically work through this pain instead of going into a shock. Yeah, so I think I need to do that. I need to basically not to accept it, because I don't want to accept not having my home. I just want to basically thank God for keeping me safe and my children, and just keep being grateful. And basically, when you were talking, I realized that actually, yeah, I'm not used to the struggles, and I'm not used to them. I don't cope well with struggles, and I don't cope well. It's like my environment, if I'm in an environment where there's too much aggression, I can't cope with it, because I'm not used to it. I can't cope. Even my family, they know that I can't cope with aggression, because I was raised by love. So love is what I know. Anything else, to me, I can't cope with it. So I think I need to meditate and do some prayers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to meditate and do some prayers and release whatever is going on. Yeah. Going back to the topic, basically, it is important that, like what you were saying, that we need to set up goals, and we need to see things that are hindering us moving forward. And even Dr. Laura was saying that you have to be surrounded by people who are succeeding in life. You can't just be around people that are not succeeding. So it is very, very important to hold yourself accountable for setting up your goals, and having people, that someone else that can actually help you to achieve those goals. And it's like, I've been studying for 6 years part-time, my degree. And when I submitted my last assignment, I was like, I need a break, no more studying until that day comes. But for now, I need a break, because, I basically had to learn to complete things. I don't like to start things and then not completing it. For me, basically, when I started getting into personal development, and the other thing that I had to focus on was start a project and finish it. Start a project and finish it. If I can't finish it, ask for help, for people to help me, so I can finish it. So those were some of my values. And when I finished this assignment, I was like, oh my God, I'm done for now. So it is good. Do you have any words of encouragement before we go, Carol Ann?
Yes, I think for you, actually, in terms of, not used to struggling, and that might resonate with quite a few people, where they've managed to fly through life without a struggle. All of a sudden there's this struggle. It's like, wow, what's this? And so rather than battle with it, make it wrong, or attempt to push it aside, embrace it and surround it with the love that you know.
Yeah.
And ask, for what purpose is it here? What is it come to teach you? What have you come to, what is it you're meant to learn from that? And so it is about accepting the struggle. And as you said, it's not accepting the fact you haven't got the house yet. It's just accepting the struggle and being with the struggle. Feel what that struggle feels like. Really embrace it and go into the center of it and just feel what's in the center of that. And just keep asking for guidance. What does it come to teach you?
Yeah.
And, and that's a great awareness that you have there, that you've not had struggles before. And just surround it with all that love, and maybe is there and in a younger you that something happened that is wanting a voice? Is there maybe some past life stuff that's wanting a voice, or maybe some ancestral stuff that's wanting a voice? There was a struggle, and something about moving house, something around this, this whole thing. What is it? So, and just feel into the energy, surround it with that love, and ask for guidance. So, I love what Albert Einstein said, actually. It's not that I'm so smart, it's that I stay with the problems longer. And that's what we've been saying. Stick with them. Stick with them.
Yeah.
Find a solution. It's about focusing on the solution, not the problem. And there's always a way. There's a Thomas D. Willett says, worry never accomplishes anything. When you have a problem, it is best to concentrate on the solution to that problem, not the problem itself. Which is what I was just saying. So shift your focus. Where's your focus? And just get back into that flow again. Embrace the challenges. Recognize what's there that could be holding you back. And as Dr. Laura said, there is a whole workshop we could do on this, I think. Because she alluded to some things that could go quite woo-woo. There's other things that are hidden within you. There's conflicts to do with something related to your Enneagram types, which I'd learned about, so there's a lot of things that go even deeper than the surface things that we've talked about. So, just keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah. I will do that. Just keep going, stay longer with the problems, no quitting. That is, I'll take his quote and use that quote. And if everyone is watching as well, please, whenever you have a problem, don't running away from the problem or quitting is not an option. So you have to basically keep setting your goals and get people to help you and support you with whatever is going on in your life, and know that problems are part of success. You can't just succeed. There's no such thing as success overnight. We watch The X Factor, we see people winning, and we watch Britain's Got Talent, we see people winning. That means they have had struggles, those people behind the scenes. And for them to be where they are, there has been struggles in life. So that's what life is about. Some people, they put their videos, they go viral. It has not been, it doesn't mean that it's just a success overnight. And that person, for them to be able to think that content, to write it and to go viral, that means that there has been a struggle for them to be, their mindset to be where it is. So that's what life is about. We are here at Ngozi Talk Shows Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. UK time. And if you are looking for a writing facilitator, please get in touch with Carol Ann. Or if you want to connect with any of our coaches, please get in touch with me. I'll connect you with our coaches. And live with grace, everyone, and God bless. YouTube family, please subscribe to our channel.